Hello and welcome. The title of the message today is Let There Be Light. Today, on this Palm Sunday. Let's begin by affirming together our opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God. And I invite you now to take a deep breath, gently but fully filling your lungs, and releasing that breath, relaxing into this moment, right here, right where your feet are, right now. And so it is. So let there be light. I want to share in rapid succession 3 verses from the Bible. The first one comes from the book of Genesis, that first book in the Hebrew Scriptures. And in chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, we read this. From the Lamsa translation from the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness. That reminds me of a joke. So God was sitting around talking to his angels, and he said to the angel, "Guess what I just did?" And the angel says, "No, what? I don't know what." And God says, I created a 24-hour period of light and darkness. And the angel said, "Wow, what are you going to do next?" And God said, "I think I'll call it a day." All right. Well, I know sometimes the jokes leave something to be desired. I'd like to read now from the Gospel according to John. And in chapter 1, we'll read from verses 4 and 5. And I'm slightly paraphrasing. I'm going to substitute, instead of the pronoun that's used, I'm going to use the actual noun that was called out earlier. The life was in Word, and the life is the light of humankind. And the same light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. So holding this in your consciousness, let's go to the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 6. This is part of the Sermon on the Mount here, where Jesus is giving us his view of the gospel. This is an expansion of the good news and how we can put it into practice. You remember the good news from a couple of weeks ago. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near. Thinking about what that word repent means, let's read these 2 verses from Matthew. Even as we hold in our consciousness that verse from those 2 verses from Genesis and the 2 verses from John. And so we have the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 6, verses 22 and 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. If, therefore, your eye be bright, your whole body is also lighted. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be dark. If, therefore, the light that is in you is darkness, how much greater will be your darkness? Now, what are we trying to see here for our spiritual path, for our walk in this life? How is this useful for realizing that gospel message to repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near. It's on us now. Change your consciousness, for the kingdom of heaven, the realm, the place where we experience God, is right here with us. We have to repent, change our consciousness. And that's what this is saying, isn't it? The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is bright, your whole body is lighted. How we see the world is the lamp of our body. Remember that analogy about the lantern. Inside of us there is this bright light. This light from Genesis. This light from John. That shines in the darkness. It is life itself. And it's the light in all of us, remember in John, for all humankind. If your eye is bright, if we are seeing the world in a correct picture, our whole body is lighted. But if we are not, if our eye is diseased, if we are seeing the world from a distorted view, our body is dark. Now, remember the gunk that can build up on the lantern through our lives, through our education, through our experiences that were not necessarily pleasant, that we have built these filters around so that we don't experience that unpleasantness again. This shadow stuff, the stuff that is built up on that lantern that we don't even know exists. How do we deal with that? How do we clean that lens? How do we see from this bright eye as opposed to the diseased eye? The diseased eye is looking out through that gunk. The bright eye is when we have cleaned the glass, the globe on the lantern, so that our light shines through, so that God's light shines through us. Our light. God's light. The light of all humankind. So what is this technique? Our most ready technique for seeing something that we refuse to see in ourselves. And that's the nature of this gunk. We don't want to see it, and so we don't see it in ourselves. But we see it in others. We can look at what our consciousness is bringing up over and over again as we observe other people. Think about when you find yourself judging, analyzing, correcting, fixing somebody else. You might journal about it. Write down in a place where only you can see these experiences you have when you are triggered and find yourself in this judgment. Holding presence, forgiving yourself, having self-compassion, having compassion towards the people you're writing about. Go back and read through these observations about yourself, because that's what they truly are. They're not observations about the other persons. They are the way that person is reflecting back to you what you see in yourself. And you'll know this because you'll see different people reflecting the same message back. If you continue to do this through time, you will see this. That is the clue to how we can wipe away that gunk from the globe of our lantern and begin to see with a bright eye instead of a diseased eye. So that's the invitation today. Begin to observe those times when you find yourself judging, criticizing others, trying to fix somebody else, inevitably, that what you feel needs to be fixed in others is what needs to be fixed in yourself. It's difficult to see. Have compassion for yourself and others. Forgiving. This is a way that God can help us to see with that bright eye through a clean globe, letting our light shine into the world. I invite you to pray with me the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Thank you.